Hi, I'm so glad you're here. My name is Judith and I'm from His Unmeasured Grace. That's where I write from my blogs, but you'll also find quite a few videos. So today I'm going to be talking to you about how Memorial Day is more than picnics. Mostly we think of Memorial Day as being about picnics and a lot of fun. And since Memorial Day is coming up, I thought I'd put together this video based on my blog post, but I often add more in so that it's worth listening to this so that you can get more out of what I'm sharing. So Memorial Day is a holiday weekend that we celebrate in the United States. It's the beginning of summer, and it's where people have picnics and family and friends, and they go to parades and they eat lots of hamburgers and hot dogs with potato chips and Jello and all kinds of fun things. That may be all you think about it, and that may be just the end of where your thoughts about Memorial Day, a parade that makes you think it has some connection with the military and the wars that we've had in the United States. And most countries have similar holidays, something that commemorates their military and the battles and the victories that they've won. So I just wanted to know if you have just that connection. Because if not, or if you're curious, I'm going to introduce you to some other ideas and thoughts and what it's about, and just let's see where this goes. Do you know the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day? So Memorial Day is in the end of May, and Veterans Day, I forget, I think it's in February. Isn't that terrible? So it's easy to confuse them and walk up to someone who has been in the U.S. military and thank them for serving. So evidently people have been known to do that. So what is Memorial Day? Memorial Day is a federal holiday in the United States to remember the people who died while serving in the country's armed forces. So if you go up to somebody and thank them for serving and they're alive, you may need to rephrase that and thank them for serving, and that you are glad that they didn't die during the war or however that they served. So once a person dies in service, it's too late to thank them. So it's a good thing to thank people. And my son served in the military for about 8 years, and in the Navy for 4, and the Army for about 4. And so I can thank him for serving because he is still with us, which I'm very grateful for. And he served our country just like so many other people have served our country, men and women. I knew a woman, the last person you would expect who would be in the military at one point in her life, and she was, and it was just an honor. My uncle, he served back in World War II, and he was in 2 of the landings. My husband would be able to rattle it off perfectly. But I am so grateful that he did that because it gave me freedom, and my family freedom, and you freedom to live. He was a radio man, very dangerous position, and he survived, and he became the founder, or one of the 2 founders of Word of Life International. And I believe that my grandmother prayed for him, and that's why he made it through, one of the reasons. Anyway, so I'm sure my grandpa prayed too, but I think we think of the women praying, and that just is dear to my heart. So my grandpa served in World War I. And so you probably have friends or relatives that have also served. So why fighting is sometimes necessary. I do not like fighting. I do not like wars. I don't like boys having a tussle. I'm weird. And I grew up in a country that was pretty much next door to Vietnam during the Vietnam War. So we had sailors that were in and out of our harbor town city, and we had them for lunch on Thanksgiving and different things. It was just part of my growing up. And even when my parents were in Japan, where I was born, and before my memories were activated too much. So fighting is necessary, and So war is necessary in some cases, because war is necessary in order to keep peace in the country that you're growing up in. And war was real to me because I was aware of it as a small child, not as something happening on the TV. We didn't have TV, but because I was very aware that was happening. My brother and my sister went to boarding school for a year. Each of them went for a year in Vietnam. So I was very aware of that. Later, that same school, I remember they had to evacuate the students, the kids, to another place. And I went to college with many dear friends who went to school there. So that it's real. When you go into war and it's a battle time and a war is going on, you have to, as a soldier, they have to deal with that, the possibility that they might die. There have been different men in history, human history, who have murdered millions of people. There was Genghis Khan, Mao Zedong, and Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler. I won't go into all of them. I was alive growing up when Mao was in China. I was next door in Hong Kong, and where I saw the big huge red billboards and rioting going on. We were had to be in curfew in the evenings, and I remember the military going by. So these things are real to me, and so I guess somewhere along the line I just don't like war. So sometimes war have been fought to control the wicked desires and ideas of men, like the ones I just mentioned. And fighting and killing originated way back when Cain and Abel were alive. And violence started way back then, and so that it's nothing new anymore. In Romans 5:12 it says, "Wherefore as by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin, so death passed upon all men, for that all have sinned." Romans 5:12. So it wasn't long until Cain and Abel. From that point, violence rapidly grew to proportions where God had to establish human government to curb violence. If you look at the post, I have 4 references that might help you if you wanted to go into this a little bit deeper. So why do we need to fight? Thinking about Memorial Day and how men lost their lives so that I can be free reminds me of the spiritual battles I need to fight. Now that I live in the United States, because I grew up overseas, and I forget to be thankful for my freedom. I take it for granted, even with the things that have been going on. When I lived in Asia, I was fully aware of the freedoms that communism took away from people, even as a child and teenager. So Satan wants to destroy you and me, worse than the vicious men who murdered millions. Be alert and put your hope in Jesus, because you are fighting a real battle. Know that if you don't fight, the adversary will try to destroy, or at best, deter you from being victorious. But God wants you to be victorious and wants to bless his people over their enemies. And you can look up Psalm 18:32 to 42 for more on this whole thought. Warfare for the Christ follower is real. Okay? Warfare illustrates Christian life and is real. Okay? So you can look at the wars going on and you can kind of get an idea of how it can symbolize our walk with Christ and the struggle we have with Satan and the temptations we are met with every day. So my son, he served in the U.S. Navy, and when on duty, he laid on his stomach wearing uncomfortably hot clothes and gear so that he could scan, and he scanned the water off of the USS Theodore Roosevelt carrier. And we are to put on the whole armor of God as protection against the enemy. And that you can look up Ephesians 6:10 through 20. And in the same way, and my son, he said it was really heavy and hot. it is uncomfortable for us to wear the armor of God sometimes. And wearing armor isn't always comfortable. We must keep our armor on and not return to our old ways. If we retreat and get scared and retreat, like you sometimes see the Israelites doing, I've been reading through Judges and Deuteronomy, and it's like they did that all the time, often, and went away from God. And I just want to remind you not to do that, to stay and cling on to Jesus, cling on to God. And we must keep our armor on and be dead into our old ways, leave them behind us. And if we retreat from the enemy, we'll be he'll overcome us, and it exposes our back, which isn't protected, and God never intends you to retreat. You have armor, you have the shield, and you have the breastplate and all the things, but your back is not protected. The idea is not to retreat. So if you look up what armor is like on Pinterest or somewhere and see pictures of it, there isn't anything on the back. You always see the person from the front. And we are fighting in this battle for our souls and the souls of men and women. So have courage and have tenacity. Hang on. And so just like those who fought so that you could live and be free in the United States until and they gave their life and died so that you could have that freedom. Fight until the end of your life so you can live free with Jesus in heaven, and fight bravely with courage and tenacity and hold on to Jesus and like repeat his name over and over and just hang on. He died so that you might live a free and abundant life. Don't forget to be thankful for the men and women who fought and died so that you could experience freedom in our country. Remember that Jesus fought the most important war against Satan, as his blood was shed and he rose in victory over death. So enjoy your hamburger and your potato salad and chips on this Memorial Day. Don't think I'm saying not to do that. I just want to give you a background of why you should be thankful and help you know the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day, so that you will be thankful for the people, but not go up and tell somebody thank you that you served and they're still alive. Thank you that you served and we're so grateful that you made it through and that you're alive. And just appreciate your freedom. And I just want to ask, do you have a relative or someone you know that served or died in fighting? Let me know in the comments below. And I just want to tell you that if you go to the post, which is linked below, or that you found this within the post, at the bottom of the post, you can get a gratitude journaling workbook. Will help you to work through the issues that you aren't grateful always as much as you would like to be. And it gives you a Bible reading plan and journaling pages to do using the SOAP method, which writes a couple verses of scripture, and it helps you to write down what's happening and write down how to apply it, and a little prayer to God. And it gives you Bible verses, Bible verse printables, and a frameable verse. In other words, a printable with just one verse that you can put on the wall or your refrigerator to remind you, and journaling art page. It just really will encourage you and help you learn how to study the Bible and help you learn to tap into the presence of Jesus. So you can get that in the blog post, and I just hope you go over and visit that. There are just some graphics that you can see, or just one, and you'll just be blessed. And I just hope you have a wonderful Memorial Day and that you are thankful that people died so that you could have your freedom.